If everyone could take their seats, please. So we are reconvening the Board of Education, CUSD 201 regular meeting of the Board of Education tonight, April 22nd, 2016. And if we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing we'd like to do is have a moment of silence honoring the victims of the attack in Brussels, Belgium. Okay, the first thing on the agenda, approval of minutes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 8th, 2016 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the first closed session of the March 8th, 2016 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the second closed session of the March 8th, 2016 regular meeting of the Board of Education as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Then, are there any public comments? All right, the agenda does say celebrate success from the WTA, but we are not doing that this time. We will do it another time. And look forward to it. Oh, that's fine. Okay, the consent agenda. Are there any questions or comments on that? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Number 1, personnel recommendation. Ann Lavasek, long-term substitute, early childhood special education, South School. James Addington, part-time evening custodian, Westmont Junior High School. Mr. Golbahar, full-time evening custodian, Westmont Junior High School. Stipend position, Scott Laram, assistant boys and girls track coach, Westmont High School. And stipend position, Lynn Egler, substitute caller. Number 2, approval of IHSA membership. 3, approval of ombudsman contract. 4, approval of future energy contracts. 5, approval of March 2016 expenditure report. 6, ratification of February 2016 regular payroll. And 7, resolution to abate working cash funds.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Mr. Armstrong,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson, Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the moment we've been waiting for, information discussion. We'll have Mr. Steve Cashman give us a facilities update. Yay.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of where the designs are for the 4 different schools that are part of the security renovation project. And then I'll finish with some kind of phasing related to the high school, which is the most complex of the 4 locations. And then I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. So in a nutshell, we've been working very diligently on the designs. We're also, right now, we're in the process of construction documents and bidding. We've already released a couple bid packages on long lead items. So those are currently being on the street and being bid. And then we're working towards completing the final bid package. So I'll start with Manning. So this is an exterior view, a 3D view of the small addition, the secure entry addition at Manning. It basically is about 300 square feet. It's on stair C, which is the kind of middle stair entrance on the Linden side. And it has exterior steps, ADA ramp, and there's a small lift inside, so this becomes an accessible entrance for visitors. There's visibility on all sides. You'll be able to see Linden and bus pickup and drop off. You should get some good visibility along Linden, and I'll show you how this relates to the relocated principal's office. This is a site plan. We'll be going in front of the village in May. But small addition, there's only a change in impervious surface of about just under 500 square feet. But this is part of the documents that are for this village package and that we're putting together for the bid documents. We're doing some demolition of the existing landing, some demolition within the classroom that becomes the new principal's office, demolition of the current principal's office area, demolition in the current nurses area, and then some demolition in a women's staff bathrooms across from stair C. This is the first floor plan. So basically, the area in yellow is the new secure entry. The area that is in magenta is the new principal's office, so there's a main office area, a principal's office, and storage. On the top right is the current principal suite that becomes the new nurse's office. So that will have a treatment area, a fully accessible bathroom for normal students and students with some special needs, and then what is currently the footprint of the nurse's office on the south side of stair B becomes a staff workroom to support the entire school. And then the area that's in cyan on the top left is the current restroom that's just getting a facelift. It has existing finishes from 1960s, and we're kind of replacing those new fixtures. It will also become accessible. Right now, it's not an accessible restroom, so we'll be adding an accessible toilet stall and changing out the lavatories that becomes accessible. And then basically at stair C, we're removing the wall that's in the current vestibule, and there'll be a small Garaventa lift that basically goes up about a half a story, but it will allow that entrance to be fully accessible to the school. So we'll have another way in, a better way in than the current setup where we're coming in through the kindergarten room or through the gymnasium. So kind of excited about we're solving security, but we're also going to improve accessibility at the school.
Steve, can I just interrupt for 1 second?
Sure.
When you're saying principal's office, can you add school office? Just
Sure.
because it's...
It is.
That question has come up in the past, and so
Correct. It's the
when
main
you're
school
saying that,
office
it's the
in
whole
Locate.
school office.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Principal is just one component of that.
Yes, just
An
that came up in the
important
past,
part.
so, thank you.
So that's the first floor plan. This is an elevation from along Linden on the east side. We're basically tying into aesthetically some of the kind of collegiate Gothic details from the 1927 portion of the building. If you go back to this original view, these two stairs that were original to the first part of the building have some nice detailing around them with stone, some wraps around the door openings, and then some other details around the windows. So we're tying that in so that we want it to look like it's been there for years. Now we'll move over to Miller. And this project's gone through lots of iterations, but fortunately, as soon as Pepper Construction came on as a CM, they basically kind of took the pulse of where all of our project budgets were, what their opinion was. And the good news of that is they felt like we were under budget and that we had some options. So what we had looked at initially with Miller was really the vestibule, but it was going to have some downsides, like we had discussed before about manning with blocking off doors that would have to have a fob to get through. So we looked at and studied a different alternative, which is basically moving the main office from the second floor in the back to the first floor with visibility to the main entrance. And what you'll see in this view, this is kind of looking from the northwest. This is the current entrance right here. We add this new entrance here to the left. So when school day starts, these doors are locked down. Visitors will come into here. We're adding 2 windows to provide visibility into the space. It basically becomes a secure reception area where someone can come in there, the lobby guard will be there, they'll be visible from the main office, and then they can, once they go through the lobby guard process, they can then be buzzed into the building. And I'll show you that in plan. This is some demolition. So it's currently the art music space, if you're familiar with Miller, and that's the space that becomes the new school office. And And then you'll see on the second floor, we're taking the current school office and nurses area and doing some interior remodeling there. So this is the first floor, new construction plan. So the areas, this is the new entry. And this becomes a secure reception vestibule with the lobby guard. So this door will be secured when someone comes in. And then this becomes the new school office with secretarial space, principal's office, storage, some additional storage for music and PE. The nurse moves from the second floor down to where the nurse's office originally was on the first floor. And then art music moves into what was previously, a number of years ago, the kindergarten room, where there's currently, I mean, it's really kind of set up perfectly. It has flooring that's appropriate. It has water. It actually has a small bathroom, which was original to that kindergarten room. So we really create there's a lot of glass and visibility between this main office and this reception area, and then there'll be visibility out to the street. And the beauty of it is it solves it more like we would want to without having to have a paraprofessional really securing that main door. And students and staff moving through the building, it'll be just like it is today. There'll be no change to that. And talking with Tim about the design, I mean, he's excited about it because it really gets the main office where it should be, where they can literally see everything going on. As part of the project also, we're, right now they set up and take down lunchroom tables for every lunch period. And we're basically going to put in folding lunch tables like you had originally at South School, so that they can quickly be brought down and then put out of the way and have seating for the current capacity plus some growth. So that will also help that space. Then this is the second floor area. This is the current main office suite, and this becomes a suite of student service spaces. So it becomes small, 4 private office areas where they can do one-on-one or private assistance for students, and then there's a kind of common space where there could also be staff and students there, but don't need to be in a private environment. And this would be supporting all types of services that you provide, whether that's speech, psych, OT. I mean, there's a lot of functions. So it really, this has been an area that really lacks having the ability to have some privacy at Miller, and this really, I think, is going to make a great use of this space to, right now, some of this is happening behind just partitions, partial height partitions in kind of classrooms. This is a much more appropriate location for it. So we're kind of excited about this and how this will help Miller. Now we move to the high school. This is an overall plan of the renovation. And basically, this is the west entrance. This is the south student entrance or staff entrance. And the main components, as we discussed before, was this whole south arc, which right now is open classroom areas. Is basically, you can see all these spaces that are in green are new enclosed classrooms. They all become very standardized. They all either have exterior existing windows that we put in a number of years ago, or the inside classrooms have high clear story windows, and the hallway, basically these rectangles in the hallway, there's skylights. There's almost 20 skylights throughout the hallway area to really flood natural light deep into the space. The main office area here to the west is basically becomes the adult entrance. One thing that we really kind of came up in the design process is the building, the main entrance faces west, but most of the visitors come from the south, where you have the parking. So one thing they said they struggled with when we talked with the high school team is securing that, because what happens now unfortunately, students say they're coming late or whatever, kids are letting them in, and there's no way to supervise this entrance. So in a nutshell, as we really looked, the administrative team was literally scattered across the entire building. We literally had speech and psych, social workers down here in the library area, all the way up to here. We had curriculum. So we're really able to bring together the staff that made sense to be in this, what I call like the adult entrance, and then this becomes a secure student entrance. So once the school is locked down to start a school day, if a student's coming late, they're tardy, they come in here. But we basically now have adult administrators here to supervise this whole area and make this secure, and the west entrance. So in a way, we kind of killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Where it really came up was the first time we were talking about lobby guard, they were discussing in the past, there used to be a staff member that was assigned to this door to basically try to maintain order and security here. And that was years ago, but that right now there really isn't someone, and it's impossible to maintain it. Even with the, the airphone and the video system, if a student walks up and there's kids walking by, it's really easy for someone just to hit a panic device and let them in. So this will provide a good way to secure that entrance. So this becomes basically the dean, the attendance secretary, and there's other staff members in that area. So there's a small group of office areas that would have been all clustered here, but we basically split them up to provide better security. And then basically up here, the north end, is right now there's just 2 spaces. These go back to your kind of industrial arts programs that stopped. And we basically are able to create 4 good special ed classrooms with breakout spaces. Special ed really, and at the end of the presentation I have the existing layout, but they've been kind of scattered here in the south arc. They're not consolidated, they're kind of just taken space they could find. This provides much more appropriate space, brings the department together so they can provide better services to those students. Some of the other spaces, these science spaces, there's 3 down here, there's 1 added here in the library, there's 1 up here, are small group spaces that we've added. The high school has really been short of, basically has 1 meeting room, which is, for a building this size, is not even close to adequate. These will now be, they're spread throughout the academic area. There's 1 here to support this academic wing and the main office, and then there's existing room here. And then we added 1 off of the Library Media Center. Those spaces would function for so many uses, pulling students out, small group activities by students, small staff meetings. So we're really kind of excited about those. That wraps around the area. Also at the end here, we have a maker lab. So really creating a new type of classroom space that you don't have at the high school that will allow all types of kind of project-based activities to occur there. So it's, instead of carpet, it's a hard floor, and it has plumbing, it has running water, it has casework. So it's really, I'm kind of excited to see what your staff do with this space, because we're basically adding a new type of space they don't have to allow them to explore some different curriculum. And then basically, we're adding a unisex restroom, accessible restroom here by the student entrance by 21A. What was the original workroom kind of goes back to the workroom. Those bathrooms become accessible. And I'll show you a little closer these areas. I can zoom in so you can see them a little better. This is then the north area. These spaces here are really just being repurposed. This room here was divided years ago. Partition went up to break it into 2 spaces. The registrar's in 1/2 of that. That's going to be opened up, and it's basically a lunch area or kind of detention area off of the main lunchroom. Right now, if they have any kind of issues with a student, there's no place for them to go and still be supervised by the staff in this area. So that will be a really helpful space there. Up here is where we basically create these 4 new special ed classrooms with them breakout rooms to support those, so they can do more one-on-one activities, or there could be a small group of students in 1 space and then a one-on-one activity going adjacent. Down here on the lower left, you'll kind of be familiar, there's areas in the high school where it's just seas of carpet. And it was really interesting going through this process. We found the original furniture plans from 1976, and what they envisioned back in the day was much more of things spreading out into these areas. The library, literally, the stacks and books and magazines were outside of the library space. Were out in the commons. I'm sure early on they said this is, books are disappearing or something, that they had to kind of pull it back in. But what we've tried to do in both areas, and I'll show you this more, is try to take some of this kind of unused space and make some space out of it. So this becomes a nice conference room that is really lacking in the high school and is right in a good central location. This is a closer view of the middle area or the main office. So we basically take what's currently the normal entrance, and there becomes a large vestibule there. So when someone comes in, once the school day has started, they'd be buzzed in the outside door, but then they come into this vestibule and they'd be buzzed in a second time, and they into the main office. And this area right here is basically the main reception area. There's a partial height wall. This is similar to what you have at the junior high, where you come in, there's a number of staff assistants there, and it's an open space, and there's places where people can wait. And then basically right adjacent to that is the assistant principal, the registrar, system support. There's a small meeting space here, which could, in the center of the area, a workroom. This is the main, the principal's office, which now has windows, so you can see out to the west entrance in the parking area. The nurses kind of stays roughly where they are right now because there were cost advantages by not moving those plumbing lines. But basically, we've been able to, the nurses, from the original design at the high school, the nurse's office was cut probably in half over time. And we basically were able to create a more appropriate space. So there's an exam area, there's 2 cot areas for treatment, a full accessible restroom with a hand shower, and then an appropriate area for the nurse. Then 2 counselors next to there, and then basically there's a second exit outside of that area. Across from there, where Sonia currently is and doing attendance, is basically becomes a workroom to support the entire school. So reproduction, supplies and stuff come back here. We have 2 restrooms that are currently there but get renovated and become fully accessible, and then the main work area. The next drawing looks at the south area. Here in the middle is the current Library Media Center, which pretty much stays untouched with the exception it will be enclosed. So if you can picture where there's a lower library area and there's a partial height wall with a wood cap that's kind of in this whole area, that will have butt glazing from that wood cap up to the soffit, so that'll be acoustically and a secure enclosure there. And then basically from where you normally come in right now, which is this open, is an aluminum curtain wall. And we have another drawing where I can kind of show you what that looks like. But the idea was to enclose it first for security, number one, then secondly for acoustics, because with the commons there open, during lunch periods, there's no way to control that. And then secondly, but to still keep it visually open. And you'll see we tried to with this glazing here, and then how we treated this area on the northwest. I think we were able to accomplish that. We created a second exit out of the library here by this existing stair. And then basically, this was an area that right now is currently kind of unused, becomes a small group breakout room for the library. We have these areas in green are the typical classrooms that wrap around. And then we have this student entrance area here with the dean, teaching coordinator, speech and psych, a small reception area that they can then be buzzed in securely through that entrance. We've added a couple more windows, like we put in, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago. We're adding a couple more here just to provide a little bit more glass, a little bit more adult supervision of that whole area, that student entrance. So I think that will be a big improvement there. One thing I'll just point out now, because you'll see this later, is there's some walls that are kind of in blue, and this gets into both to secure the area and then to phase the construction. And if you can kind of picture, the existing walls are really more down here is where this ends. This wall is full height and has doors at the end, and basically we set up, it'll be open most of the time, but during lunch periods they could just release the doors. They'll be on magnet hold opens, they could release them, and then acoustically there'd be some separation so the noise of the commons would be stopped from coming back in here. In the event of, say, a lockdown function, the doors can actually be released and locked. So if there was someone in the commons area, these doors would be locked and you could not get back into this classroom wing without a key. And basically what ends up happening, there's a set of doors here, 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 and here. These almost become 3 different compartments. And in each case, they lock down, but whoever's in this area has 2 exits. You can either go back out those doors or they have direct access to the exterior through the pre-existing exterior doors. And you'll see in the 3D views, it becomes a little bit more apparent. So this is going back to the board, kind of help. The two-dimensional drawings are kind of confusing. So this is looking at right now these are 2 large spaces that used to be in your industrial arts program. So we're basically creating 4 classrooms here, using small breakout spaces that support all 4 of them. And then basically, within those spaces, there's doors with sidelights. So there's visibility into those spaces, but they could have private one-on-one activities with students there. This next view is of the main school entrance. This gives a little better idea. So this becomes the secure vestibule right here. These are existing doors where you currently get buzzed in. So you come into this space and then you'll get buzzed into this main office area. And then we've added in this small curve here, we're adding some smaller windows. They're 2 foot wide versus 4, but we wanted to add some visibility so they can see out and to bring some natural light into that area. There also is a skylight serving that area, so natural light will come in there. This is currently a series of exit doors. This becomes a new masonry wall, and there's a pair of windows here. So this is the new principal's office, and Jack will have visibility to the outside of the building. This is the assistant principal, registrar, There's an office here and a workroom right in the middle. This area right here is the nurses' suite. And then these are 2 counselors' offices, and then there's a second exit here out to the commons area from this main office suite. This area right here currently, which was the original mailroom, basically becomes, stays as the mailroom, but also becomes a workroom to support the entire school. These 2 areas are where there's 2 existing restrooms, but those become new accessible restrooms. This was one of the kind of bonus spaces. You can picture how wide open this was. And back in the day, this had back-to-back alcoves of lockers. And I'm sure that visibility probably was an issue. So those were removed and lockers were put against the wall. So it really left this big open space. So this is really, I think, a nice use of that space where, it can, it's literally a nice sized conference room. It can support all kinds of school functions, and it's right in the middle of the school. And this is a view of the whole south arc of classrooms. And as I talked about these kind of secure vestibules, so this blue wall here basically forms kind of a secure barrier on the north end of this east wing. And then same thing over here. And we basically, to gain space, like again, this wall is a little further back. We've been able to move forward a little further to the north and gain some additional academic space by doing that. But you can see these blue zones, and when we get into phasing, this becomes like a construction zone. And the beauty of it is we have exiting from both directions, so activities can go on in these areas. This could still be having class, construction going here, and they have exiting. So, so this is the new student entrance, secure student entrance area here. This is the maker lab, computer lab, series of classrooms. This is one of the small group rooms here. And you can kind of see a little bit, there's a better drawing how we took the library area and enclosed it using glazing and aluminum.
Steve, is the ceiling staying at the same height, or is it being dropped at all?
It's being dropped a lot. It's being changed a lot. In the typical classroom area, basically this goes from about 10 feet, 9'8", up to almost 30 feet here, and slopes up. And we really went back and forth a lot with, talking about this with Mike, with our mechanical engineers. There were a lot of compelling reasons to not continue that in this area, where we get in the classroom. So in simple terms, the exterior classrooms are these are 10-foot ceilings, flat. The corridor is up at 14 feet. It's up higher for a number of reasons, to get more natural light in and keep these skylight shafts shorter. That's just kind of as high as we can go and not hit the structure of the existing steel roof trusses. And then these inside classrooms are at 12 feet. They're up higher. Right now, you just picture this whole area. You're heating and cooling a huge volume of air that you never use. It's just up there. And when we started looking at what it was designed for originally with mechanical contractors and engineers, to put them in flat, number one, it's a lot easier to maintain for guys like Mike versus having to go on a lift to change a light bulb that's 25 feet above your head. And we take all that space that becomes plenum, and you're not conditioning that. So there should be a big savings on just HVAC, because this whole volume of air that you're currently heating and cooling, we will not be doing that anymore. So that really helps with the existing mechanical equipment and the loads. It also helps with illumination. Right now, those can lights, the HID can lights, high intensity discharge lights, as they randomly scatter and move up, they're at different foot candles or lumens to be brighter here than here. Don't really work that great. With a flat ceiling plane, you can more standardize on light fixtures for here, light fixtures here, and it's just a more efficient way to do it. Out in the open spaces, we're replacing the concealed spline ceiling with new ceilings that will follow those slopes. So when you come in, that big openness feeling, that will be there. But once we get back into this wing, it's a little different. And I think it really makes a lot of sense. It's going to save you money. What's really fascinating, the timing of this project is kind of perfect from a lighting point of view. Just in the last few years, LED has really taken over the lighting market. We're basically, all the new light fixtures we're putting in this project, with a few minor exceptions, are all going to be LED and be fully dimmable. The amount of power you're going to use for lighting is going to go down dramatically, plus better control. Every classroom will have a switch at the main door that can be on and off. It could also dim the lights from 0 to 100%. And then at the teaching wall, the same thing. And with these LED lights, that's just running a Category 6 cable. You're not running line power to these switches. And a typical classroom light that would have used, say, like 120 watts, in this new concept, they're like 37 watts. Our larger lights that are in these open areas are a fraction of that. So it's really exciting. A fixture like that used to be a $1,000 fixture. They're now a $200 fixture. So you really kind of hit the sweet spot. It's going to change the entire lighting market. Fluorescent lights, I'd be surprised if they're around 10 years from now. And what's great is you're going to save energy, and it's within the budget, which was really exciting. Early on, we did with Pepper, we had them investigate that, and I kind of expected them to come back and say, it'd be great, but we can't afford it. But they came back and said, not only can we afford it, but we can use these lights. So it's going to be a great opportunity, and this is an investment. These lights, they come with a 5-year warranty on the fixture, but basically, if they perform properly, Mike will retire before these lights need to be changed. It's a whole different ballgame. Versus like Mike, God knows how many times he's changed the lamps in the lights that are there currently. So,
Before you leave that, Steve, can I ask a question? Just to clarify, so these inside rooms, those are windows, right?
Yeah.
So there's glass in there?
correct.
Okay.
So like in a typical classroom, we find a decent spot. So like here, there's a door with a side light, and then these windows up high, those start at 7 feet and go up to, I think, just under 12 or something. And those are high. They'll have shades on them so they can control the light, but those will bring in, like right here, these are 2 skylights. Those will be flooding that corridor with light and will allow those inside classrooms to have some natural light. I just think it's really, there's no other way. We didn't want to put skylights in them because skylights are difficult to control, but you can do it, but they're difficult. But this allows us to basically, I think, make a really nice, bright, airy feeling in this space, but then also to allow these spaces to tell, is it sunny out or not? It's, through your previous project, we've been able to add these windows, and I think we've really changed the nature of these exterior spaces, but now these inside spaces won't be at a disadvantage. So those are all, there's a lot.
Okay, it looked like that, and I just wanted to, as long as you're talking about the lighting.
Steve, does the space above, the area where it used to be like 30 feet high and now it's
Right.
12, does that become usable for anything, storage or anything like that? Or?
Not in this scenario. They're basically acoustic panel ceilings like this, and it'll be a mechanical space. It's where the power and data and things will be run.
Okay.
We talked about it, but we really never thought that was anywhere close to what we could touch, because we'd have to put structure in, make it accessible. But it was really interesting. We had a mechanical contractor, Amber Mechanical, who's actually worked on your school on a number of projects, and he was the first one, like, is there anything about dropping the ceiling? I remember talking to him, and Mike was like, that would be great, not to have these sloping ceilings everywhere. We want the school to still feel like it does, and be bright and airy, and I think it'll actually feel more so. One thing that we don't have in the drawings today, but, these big sloping ceilings, which you're all familiar with, they illuminate them with basically recessed can lights, but they're these high-intensity discharge. And, they illuminate the ground, but the ceiling plane is very dark. And that's something that I don't think they wanted it to be that way. I think they got less light through the sky monitors than they were hoping. So out in these areas, we're going to be using pendant lights that will be illuminating down, but also illuminate up. So the hope is that will feel much brighter and airy, because the ceiling, instead of being dark like this, will actually have indirect illumination on it, so it will feel more bright. And I just think that, that's the beauty of the school, is this tent-like structure. And I think these lights will be able to play with that and make that a positive. And with a light fixture that could be 20 feet off the ground, it's going to be LED. Mike's not going to have to change a lamp. So we're trying to help Mike a little bit. That school, there's so many lights there right now. And, I know in Ballastdale and everything, it's a nightmare.
Well, and like you said, each room will have a switch, so
Right.
before
The
it
individual
was
control. That will be amazing.
the whole wing and all
A
that.
couple of years, I can't remember how many years ago, when we were doing the window replacement, Mike and I were walking around, and we were in one of these areas, and we were kind of poking around the exterior, and there was someone in one of these inside spaces, and she had been at the school for like almost 30 years. And when she heard about windows, she was ecstatic. And then, we were kind of talking about switching, but right now this whole zone is controlled by a switch. You really don't have individual control. The fact that a teacher could control the lights in their own space is really positive. Another thing, a good thing to point out, all these walls between these spaces are acoustic walls. There's 7 1/4 thick. They're basically called staggered stud walls. It's what we've used kind of standard with chipboard construction in your district, but they really have a higher sound deadening capability because the vibrations on one side don't get through because the studs are different. And that's basically the standard wall that we have everywhere in this new construction. So acoustics will be better, privacy, security, obviously. And this is just zooming in a little bit on the student entrance area. So this is the current, there's a window here that's pulling out, and we're putting in a new door that basically matches the new the doors we put in when we did previous replacements. This is a secure vestibule. This becomes a student entrance. There's a waiting area here. This is where something would be located. There'd be a lobby guard here and then there. So we noticed that we got into this project, we'll need one more lobby guard system, but it makes sense. We also thought about, a typical teenager, if they're late, right now they're supposed to go around the building and come in the other entrance, but, it's better to address, this is where they want to come, this is where all the parking is, and then now we have visibility here and we'll have security here. There's an existing bathroom here that's really been kind of converted into janitorial space. We're basically taking the center area and making a unisex bathroom. So that could be for visitors, people with disabilities, and we're basically leveraging the existing plumbing that's right in the area to create that restroom. So this is this kind of administrative area that supports the student entrance, and this is the maker lab, computer lab, and a series of classrooms. This is just to give you a view of the library, because this was something we wanted to make sure we still have to open this. This is kind of looking from the northwest. This is the current partial height wall that has a wood cap on it, and this is the butt glazing, which is similar to what's you have up in the science lab areas to enclose that. There really wasn't any other solution because there's some tight turns there where we really needed a flexible system. And then basically from here back to where the elevator is, we're using an interior storefront aluminum system with glazing, some solid panels to give it openness, but then to allow, this is the existing circulation desk, there's some low-hug casework here, and then the larger stacks start here in the back. So it will still be open visually, but will be secure and acoustically separated. Okay, this is a fun drawing here. This focuses on how are we going to do this. Because we've talked about, we've gone through a lot of different iterations. We always thought this was not a 50-day summer project, and it's not. But I'm going to kind of do an introduction, and then Bill Bennett from Pepper is going to take it a little bit further. But the 3 colors are kind of key. The purple or magenta is basically phase 1, and that's in a simple term starting in June and running through August 15th. So that's the first summer. And you'll see it basically encompasses the open commons area, the main office, which is at the adult entrance, the office area at the student entrance, and then this first series of classrooms. Those barriers I was talking about that ultimately will be kind of security barriers help us to separate these occupied spaces from what will be a construction area. This area that's in kind of orange is phase 2. That starts, the demolition starts during the summer, but that gets completed October 31st. So that's going to be when school starts and people move into here. They'll be here, they'll be here. This will be under construction during the first part of the school year. And what's nice is we have exterior access to that. Pepper's equipment and everything's going to be in the south parking lot adjacent to this. And these separations are going to be built during the summer so that they can continue to work during the school year. And then the last phase, which is in green, is phase 3. That basically starts in October and then finishes mid-December. And that's basically the final step. So this is the last group. These people will have packed in May. We'll be kind of living out of a box for that semester. But then that's the final group that we need to hop skip someplace else, renovate their area, and then basically the plan currently is when we get to the second semester of the school year that the entire project will be done. On the other schools, those are all in the summer. So Manning, Miller, the junior high, those will all be completed in August. This is the one that runs further. And with that, I'll kind of let Bill jump in, but there's some up in the top right here kind of shows the dates. we're basically looking to get all the staff packed up by May 31st, not much sooner. And then we basically have a couple days to move people out, and then they start the 3 different phases. So Bill, you want to jump in?
Steve, before you walk away, you don't have anything here about the junior high. Can you just mention?
Okay, so
just
junior
what
high, thank you.
I mean, that's pretty straightforward, but we might as well.
The junior high is, we're taking basically 6 classrooms and 2 small group spaces and closing them. The first one, when you kind of come into the academic area, you're kind of familiar with it, but there's 4 on the north side, 2 on the south side, and then off the courtyard by the science labs, there's 2 little breakout spaces that are open to the corridor currently. In all those locations, we're basically putting in a new acoustic wall. We're opening up the ceiling so the walls can go to structure. Unfortunately, some of those original walls that went up probably in the early 80s or whatever, those just stop at the ceiling tile. So they separate the space, but they're not as acoustically as good if they had gone to the deck. And then they'll have a similar door entrance where there'll be a door with a half glass and then a side light with 3 panes of glass. They'll be accessible. There'll be a light switch at the door versus having to kind of crawl through the space to get to those relays that are on the panels. So it'll be a little bit more accessible. And then we have in the spaces that are across from the Library Media Center, in addition to the door, there's also a borrowed light window, like a glass fixed window, so there's more visibility and connection. We had talked, there's one space, the room number escapes me, that's right near the Library Media Center. There was some talk with John about wanting to maybe not enclose that, but we opted for it. Let's enclose it, but provide glass so there's a sense of visibility between the spaces if they're working in conjunction with the library, but that in a lockdown environment, you can close the door, pull the shades, and be secure. Then those little vestibules, there's kind of a series of masonry columns, these small group spaces, we're putting in barred light windows, fixed windows, and then a door, a side light, and those will be small breakout spaces, but what's nice is they're right across the hall from these classrooms that have the glass, so you could literally be in the classroom with the, say 20 students, and 4 could be across there and you can see them. And then, again, you could close those doors and have privacy, acoustic privacy, or in a lockdown event, those could be locked and closed. So there's 8 spaces there. And I'm sorry I didn't include that with the...
Just as long as you're talking about it, just...
Yeah, we got it covered. We're working on it, but...
We're all focused on these 3.
Yeah.
I know. It just, if people are watching, we've been
Right.
talking that we're doing all of
I mean, nothing against the
so-
junior high, but of the problems we've been
Right.
tackling, that has been the easiest of the entire group.
Right. Right.
It actually, everything fell into place where we wanted to put the walls, worked, where we didn't have to, move
Right.
things. And then basically, the reason they were kept open was a mechanical issue back from the way it was an open school. So we're basically solving that by doing mechanical ductwork up above to get the return air from both the classrooms that we're now enclosing and from the corridor spaces back to those rooftop units. So,
Okay, thank you. I just wanted
Sure.
to bring that up. Okay.
okay. This is Bill Bennett. He's the vice president at Pepper, and basically Bill and Eric Schwab is our project manager. He's out of town today on another project, but we've been working with both of them throughout when they initially came on board in January to today. So,
Yeah, thank you again, Bill Bennett with Pepper. Really have had a lot of fun in the last few months here working with Steve and Kim and Kevin on the overall kind of program. The middle school is something that was, simple, and so that was kind of there. But really cool to work around the Miller solutions and the high school solutions. Both of those were challenging, and so in program, and then schedule, of course. So it's been kind of cool to see that dynamic, right? Steve's brilliant. I don't tell him that to his face, but I will tell you guys, just don't, go like this. A lot of great solutions, a lot of great troubleshooting with the staff and the program, and just trying to get the right, the elegant solution. And I think Miller is one of the great examples of, just talking through stuff and seeing what the real issues are, and then trying to solve that, and to bring the actual central space somewhere within 50 feet of the front entry is wonderful, right? Yeah. So, and then what we were charged with early on, tell me if I'm crazy for the dollars that we've appropriated. And we were happy to come back with some good news for Kim that said, yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape. And that's where we were able to study some of these other kind of, dive a little bit deeper into the good solutions. So right now, what we're looking at trending on an overall construction dollars of 7.1 million, we're looking at maybe 6.9 right now. So we look good, and we have proper contingencies in place on the owner's side and on our estimating side, because we miss things every once in a while. So it looks really, really favorable that the project or the program that Steve just showed to you is going to be within your resources, which is fabulous. I don't get to say that a lot in board meetings, so happy to say that here. And in terms of schedule, so apologize. So with the budget, then there are appropriations for each school, and we've really taken a deep dive, even though the drawings don't have construction type of a feel to them. We understand what Steve says when he says staggered stud wall, so we appropriate the right funds to that, and we've taken a deep dive, and we feel good. So really good news there. So then in terms of schedule, as Steve said, we're going to try and beat what we say, but we want to kind of under-promise and over-deliver at this point. Just being honest, because the drawings are not there yet, right? But Steve's point about, we're going to actually take this a little over 2/3 of that south academic wing, I'll call it, right away in June. We talked about moves. Kim's lined up a mover, and we're ready to go. We're lining up, or soon to be lined up.
Out to bid.
on the start line, right? And living out of boxes, as Steve said earlier, but we get everybody out, we start working hard, and then this area here, which we, as a team, we thought about, do we work kind of this way, do we work that way? But the entryway here, that kind of that second entry, that is really a primary entry, to Steve's point earlier, for a lot of the students, and from that parking lot, right? We thought, well, that's a good place to focus. So we said, okay, that we would love to have for school. So we're going to start hard here, turn this over before school starts in August of 16, and then continue to work in this kind of middle section of the pie here, so to speak. And then, as Steve said, October, to be done with that, another move, and Mike and I are going to get to know each other very well, because these little, chess games and shell games we play with your staff are going to understand that it's all a little dynamic right now. But by Christmas, for sure, by Christmas, the whole program done. And as Steve was talking about this area and the kind of repurposing of those larger spaces, that'll all be over the summer. We'll get those ceilings, those high base ceilings in the commons area and all that. We'll do that over the summer, so that when kids show up to school, can I go back to that, like, one 3D zoom in of the classroom? Yeah, right there. Perfect. Yeah, so Steve highlighted this, and it came kind of naturally through the process, is that we're not going to be able to get it all done, because it's a really intensive program. But what we'd like to do, which we always like to do, is not affect the environment, right? This is high school. It's not construction. High school kids need to be taught high school classes. And so we set up these barriers, so to speak. And it's not a temporary barrier that you're going to be spending money that you're not going to get back. They're actually good permanent barriers. As Steve said, we're going to have, it's integrated with the overall design of the program, where you've got good security, you've got good sound barriers, et cetera. And it just so happens that as we're working together, we say, well, you know what, let's draw that here, not there, right? And then we can get that done by opening day, August. Then we go in between these two blue walls here, and right in here is where construction happens at the first part of the school year. And what is elegant here, as Steve brought up earlier, we can get in and out of here, and we'll just kind of segregate ourselves. On the south side, access, staging for materials, and try to, no crisscrossing of paths, so to speak, because that's a big deal. It's a really big deal. Try to stay out and let the education happen. Get this done by Halloween, put our masks on, carve a couple of pumpkins, and then we go into this last phase here and progress that on until the Christmas break, when we can take a pause. Mike can figure out what the heck is going on now. Maybe take a deep breath and get back to actually just school and none of the other business that I create when I'm on the project messing things up. On the other schools, which you were asking earlier about, the junior high, very simple stuff, pretty simple. It is interesting, though, because apparently they have school here during the summer. I didn't know that, but I guess we do.
Very proud of that.
Yeah, hey. Used to be in a couple of different places, right? But Miller is going to be kind of heavy, Manning's heavy, right? So what we thought was, well, you know what? The program at the junior high is the simplest, right? And then we can kind of, okay, so we're working right now with Cam and Kevin. How is that high school summer program going to work? And the classes at the junior high makes the most sense because that's the least intrusive. So we've kind of worked out, how many spaces and that kind of thing, and that's what's going to happen over at the junior high. And then we're going to just go after Miller, Manning, over the summer. Really happy about the solution at Miller. Manning was kind of there with the addition at the entry, that was kind of there. We've looked at a couple of things, but it makes sense exactly the way that Steve's drawn it. So, okay, good. And so the program is really well situated. Now what we have on March, 22nd today? 22nd? My wife's birthday is tomorrow, so I better remember that. It's March 22nd, right? June 3rd is free-for-all. That doesn't give us a lot of time, and we're just now out to the bid environment. I will tell you, that's late. Bidders have already gotten lots of bids from a lot of different schools, so we're gathering that interest. We do have a lot of interest, and we have, $800 million worth of work last year of trade contractors that like to bid us, which is good. And we're asking all of them, you got to look at this. It's going to be a good project. These are good people. We want good numbers. You got to meet the schedule. You got to understand what is happening here. That's a tough conversation in March normally, but with us, it's not as tough. What we do need to, which we have done with Steve, is work together. Those metal frames on this door right here, that door right there, for some reason, they're not on a shelf somewhere. They got to make them. And so we recognize that, same with the hardware. Nobody warehouses material anymore. And so we're already out on the streets. We've already advertised. We're going to buy the hardware and the frames and the doors now as a kind of a early bid package, so to speak. That way they'll be ready for us when we get there in June when we need them. Talked about light fixtures. same thing. We're working through, some of the vendors of light fixtures don't like to publicly bid with the bid bond and stuff like that. So we're working through some of the subs to make sure that we're getting good bids on those fixtures and those, because those, again, are not on the shelf. They got to make them, and they'll only make them when you commit to spending money on them. So we're going through that process again as an early bid. And Steve and Natalie, I can't believe you guys are still up. I don't know how much caffeine you guys have pumped in you by now. My goodness, but I'm getting emails from this guy, silly hours of the day and night. But a couple of weeks ago, we said, hey, we got to get it going here. Let's go. And Steve has responded, so thank you for that, and really Natalie too, and Tim is not here, but thanks to him too. I'm sure he's doing a lot of heavy lifting, right? And to your staff, really has responded to get the program, finalized. And yes, this is what we want, and get those things to make sure that we're getting Steve the right direction to draw the right stuff and get everything onto the documents, so we can actually bid and get good numbers. So April then brings the rest. That's a bid package that we put out, and we are likely to ask, and I apologize, but the way this thing is coming around, we are likely to ask for some special board meetings. Kim and Kevin will work with you guys on that, but we're going to have some bid openings, and we're going to need to award that just doesn't align with regular sessions. So we're going to ask for that, and we'll work with you on time and place and that, and Kim and Kevin will work through that. But suffice it to say that we are strapped to the rocket ship, and we are going, and it's exciting. And we have a little cushion. We feel good about budget. Schedule right now, again, something that we're on and need to watch the trending. But all good stuff, really is.
I just, one thing, I know we're kind of getting late, but the one question that I know we had talked about when we met before, well,
Yes,
two
ma'am.
things. Number one, all of the workers that are going to be coming in and out of the building are going to be supervised so that we don't have, people just meandering the building, and it's all, I know, Bill, we talked about this, but I'm saying this here at this meeting, that they're going to be in the work area under the supervision of your staff.
Absolutely, yeah. So one
Oh,
thing.
and what I'm mostly concerned about is when the kids are there, not over the summer.
Well, you bet. But either way, yes. But we don't want them running through your auditorium either, right? Yeah. Absolutely. Pepper's philosophy is a little different than some. We do not have anybody working on our project without a Pepper person there. So Jeff Dvorak, who Steve knows well, we've assigned peoples, wow, I'm educated. We've assigned people for each one of these projects that will be there supervising at any time when any work is going on in your project. There will be a Pepper person there making sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing and not doing something else. In addition to that, sorry.
But then we're going to use your lobby guard system, which is great, perfect timing with that. We'll be using that to scan anyone who's going to come to the job site. Pepper has kind of a detailed safety program and orientation where no one can just show up and start working. They have to go through this program and be kind of pre-approved by them and ready to work at the job site. And part of that will be making sure that they've scanned that and they have a record of that. And we'll do that for the summer period. And then if there's another group coming, and basically Jeff is going to be managing that along with how they badge in people in and out of the job site and keep track of them. But we talked about it, and we have a good plan. There'll be kind of controlled Manning will be the home for the superintendent that's doing Miller and Manning, and then the high school is the home for the high school project and the junior high, and both those superintendents will kind of manage that. So the lobby guard is going to be a nice feature. And actually, and Pepper's done it on other projects, so I think it dovetailed well into the normal safety program. And the goal, as you know, Bill was saying, is just not to allow students and staff to students and workers to intermingle. They'll be completely separate.
Yeah, we do a lot of K through 12 work, and so, and we have a very specific program where workers actually have a hard hat sticker that says Pepper, and it has a date on it, 2015, and you see that sticker, and you know, all right, this is someone that can work on our project. If we don't, could you come over here, please? We watch a video, we go through the lobby guard, and we make sure that they understand this is an educational facility, first and foremost, and you need to respect that and understand that, and then they get the sticker.
Okay, I just wanted to share with our community, that is something
You bet,
that
yeah, sure.
we have talked about, that, so.
Steve, I have a question. This is really the first time I'm seeing these plans, and I had mentioned this early on, and this relates directly in my world to student safety. I can see excellent ideas here of locking down the hallways and everything, but we have these outer doors that are on this outside wall. Why have we not interconnected some of these classrooms so that we could move some students out those doors in the event of an emergency?
Well, the ones that are, there's one that's connected, you know, to an existing one, basically,
I'm thinking like right here, how would this kid in this classroom, or this classroom get out? They would have to go out into the hallway
Correct.
in order to come out when we have these doors that are on the outer walls.
we need, once we have corridors, we actually need those exits to provide proper exiting from that space. So
I understand that. What I'm asking is, why isn't there a door here and a door here? and a
between
door
the
here, and a
spaces, I
door
mean,
here?
it's possible, but it tends to be an acoustic issue and a kind of an educational issue, because if we put a door, it's got to have a half glass, you know, for visibility, and then there's sound bleed, unless we put literally acoustic doors in, like we do in a band practice room or something between each space. It tends not to be done with there's plenty of exits in this area. I really feel that.
Yes, but they have to exit into the hallway.
Right, but that's really normal. I mean, if they're in lockdown mode, they're going to stay in their space. If they first are, you know, run, they have multiple directions out. Doors between classrooms, I mean, we could consider it, but we have not done that. The only place we've ever done that, and the school was not happy, was because of a fire department code, is in Lyle. Their fire protection district requires 2 exits, so they have doors between classrooms, and they hate it. We've actually put them in and come back a few years later, and the doors disappeared, because it becomes a real distraction for the teachers and affects teaching.
I just
I would
see-
also say too, you know, the more points of exterior connection,
I'm not talking about exterior
Doors.
connection. I'm talking about classroom to classroom.
yeah,
So the kids in this classroom here, if there was a lockdown and we decided, nope, we want the kids out of the school, they could exit through the classrooms out the door instead of going into the hallway where the potential danger might be.
oh, I see.
It's something we could study. It gets tricky because if we put a door between classrooms, it's going to be locked from one side, always open from the other side. Which side's the intruder?
Right.
You know, it's going to be.
I understand there's always
50-50.
problems. It
Yeah.
just seems to me like
I mean, we certainly.
we're getting there. It's a huge step.
Right.
Just seems to me in my world that, you know, we should have tried to figure out a way to move the kids more than one way out of the building if necessary. So, but otherwise, I mean, this looks wonderful. I'm very happy with most of this.
Steve, one last question. So just at the end of the day, by Christmas, some by the beginning of next school year, all the classrooms will have doors
Correct.
and walls.
Correct.
Like, and then all of the main offices of our buildings will be in the entranceway of the schools.
Correct. And we'll also have ceilings, doors.
Well, just those two elements themselves, you know, we have doors, walls, lights, and all the entrances.
Right.
And all the entrances now have lobby guard, but will have lobby guard. And
I mean, the focus was security. I mean, huge improvement in so many different ways. And then, I mean, the high school, you have just the dual benefit of, that's probably your weakest educational space, like where architecture negatively impacts education. I mean, if that could have been easily solved, it would have been done in the 80s. But now you're finally, you know, being able to solve that, and I think it's going to really completely change the environment there. We've been working a lot with your technology director, with Nadine, about the classroom of today and the future, designing in flexibility, and, you know, how are we going to give, what do they want to today? Flexibility, allowing one-to-one computing, which is going to be here very soon. How does that impact the school? So it's really exciting. It's going to be such a nice improvement for this building and for all of them. I think Manning, to get the entrance on Linden, such a step forward. And I think the timing should work out well with that space. And then Miller, as Bill was saying, that was really the advantage. We had talked about this before, about having a construction manager on board early, was where we could literally have this kind of back and forth dialogue where the initial drawings, which you guys had seen before, we got them on board and said, okay, look at these. Some of those cost estimates were 5 years old, go back to before the first referendum. So it's like, really check these things, because if we were off there, we needed to quickly make a course adjustment. And the good news was we weren't. We were in a kind of positive direction. So then we really looked more like, at Bill's suggestion, we looked at Miller and said, is there another options? And this was actually probably the third option we looked at Miller, but it really solves so many issues and creates a better main office. And so it was kind of, it was a nice back and forth, and having them there to give us immediate cost feedback on whether we were going out of the budget or not. And so we're excited as we move forward. And as Bill said, there's going to be a total of about 5 bid periods or packages. The first 2 have gone out, doors, frames, glass, aluminum. They'll be in the paper tomorrow, and then those bids will open in early April. Then light fixtures, there's I think close to 600 light fixtures, so those are going out separately. Then casework, and then basically around mid-April is when the remainder, everything down to the paint, will be bid out. Where things are, chipboard and paint, things that are more readily available will be in that package. So our engineers are working 24/7 on it, and so are we. And we're constantly communicating with Kim and Kevin and Mike and Bill's team. But one thing that is interesting, and that was a concern, is later in the year. But there's an interesting thing going on right now, and that you can actually thank the CPS for being so messed up financially. And we're opening a bid on another project where it's a $3 to $4 million job, and we were wondering, could we get enough GCs to bid? I'm pretty certain we're going to get 8 big general contractors to bid it on Thursday, and there were names I didn't recognize. I'm like, well, who are these people? Got their pre-qualification package. They're all big general contractors, did CPS work for 30 years. Well, that money stream dried up, and they're coming out to the suburbs looking for work, and their subs are coming. So it's going to be really interesting. It's really, there were names. I literally who is this person? I thought it was one I thought was a small residential builder, and I opened up and he does $30, $40 million jobs. I'm like, oh, but they've been doing it predominantly in the city of Chicago for the last 20 years. Now they just said they got to come out to the suburbs because those projects either were killed or put on hold, and they're coming out. So I'm kind of excited to see, and I hope we'll see those benefits of these firms still looking for work and coming out and competitively bidding. And we've been working with Bill's team on their list of guys that have been bidding, say like doors and frames, and then we're looking at who has worked in the district successfully over the last 10 years, and then also on other jobs recently, so that we can drum up as much support and interest as possible for all these different subcontractor packages. So.
Does anybody have any other questions or
Yeah,
comments?
I'm sorry, one other quick question. I can't remember, we've seen a number of different ideas over time as we talked about it, but with the entranceway for Manning going over to Linden, what's the current thought on parking? How that's going to function?
Well, the current thought is in year 1 that we'll be working with the village and with signage to do some on-street parking. There's kind of a synergy that ironically is going on with the stormwater project that Westmont's working on, and that playground area is an area that's under their consideration. And we've just had some very preliminary discussions, but if that gets regraded and construction happens there to solve their stormwater and flooding problem by Norfolk and Linden, that possibly as part of that, we could add some visitor parking along Linden, or along Norfolk on what would be the south edge of the playground area, so that, in front of the building, in a good spot, we would have visitor parking. So we, it's early discussions, but it seems like it should work. And I was teasing Kristen. I said, after 5 years, when a whole group of parents kind of rotate out, then you'll have them all trained properly to come in. But I think people will get it right away. I mean, they're used to coming down Linden and how you have it so organized, how they drop off and they pick up, and there's, A, B, C. I mean, they really have it organized there. I think it'll be very smoother than you'd think to get everybody to go, okay, here's where we park. They're going to see the entrance. I mean, right now, I think people get confused because if you Google it, it's 200 North Linden, and the doors are all locked. Now there'll literally be like a face on the building, a front entrance, and I think it's going to work out well. The fact that it's accessible, that was something that Kristen had talked about parent-teacher conferences, someone's coming in a wheelchair, how to make that accessible, so that was really nice to get the ramp in and then to prevent the lift for that small rise. So I think it will work out, but it's still going to take a year or so, I guess, to see exactly what the village has in mind.
Will people be able to get in and out of it while bus lines are in use?
The visitor parking?
You're right.
That's something we'll just have to work out. I think we talked about the queuing, and we thought it would work. I actually have I have a school client in LaGrange Park that has this very similar setup, and people figure it out really quickly. And it's actually part of the signage where, you pull in, it says visitor parking, except this time, and you learn right away that you're going to get blocked in because a bus is going to queue up behind you, and you just, and it's funny, it just doesn't become a problem because everybody figures it out like on day one, and that's usually not the time that there is a visitor influx, is that when everyone's queuing up. So I think it should work out fine. And it could also be working with the bus provider as far as where they're going to queue if they're not pulled up by the gymnasium area. So,
Well, I guess I'll say this now, I don't mean to be negative, but, they close that street every day.
right.
So I really think if we're going to be creating some parking there, the parking should go on Linden, between Norfolk and whatever the next block is east. So the cars would be facing north. That way you can still close the street out, because we have to protect the kids. The kids come across the street to that park to play every day,
Oh, well,
during
that's,
school hours.
I think, so you're thinking on Norfolk.
No,
on the-
on Linden.
On Linden.
No, I'm sorry, what's the cross street?
Norfolk, you're right, Norfolk,
Yeah, that's where we're planning.
Right.
That's the
Okay.
concept.
not on Linden.
So it'd basically be if you were in the front of the school looking at the playground area, it'd be to the right.
Yeah. okay.
Yeah, and that's basically where we thought, we looked at the signs that are there, we talked with the village engineers about, on a short term, could we put some signage up there that this is visitor parking, so the parallel park on the short term, or on Linden south of Norfolk. And then that spot, that's where they really need to modify the grades to make the flooding issues go away. So it's a really good opportunity to look at some 90-degree parking along there. And I think we had maybe, 10 spaces or so? I think somewhere in that area. Yeah, so no, that was definitely discussed because we talked about, having Linden open, but that was the big concern by Kristen and by other people on the team. I know Marie shared that with us, that, making that quiet and having the kids cross without through traffic during the school day is crucial.
And it's also, the student staff, the staff entrance will still be off the alley, so they
Correct.
can still park there. So
Correct.
that's not going to change at all, what all these
Right.
plans are, just the visitor entrance. So that's still, so the teachers and all the staff will still be able to park in that lot back
And
there.
people can still park back there, but we'll have to walk around.
Right.
Any other visitors, so.
Right.
Right.
Like, the spaces that are along that playground back there, which
Yeah.
those always seem to be open. As I park there a lot.
Right.
You could always park there and just walk across the pavement, between the library and the playground and come around
Yeah.
and into the entrance, so.
Well, and as it is right now at the high school, if visitors, there's X amount of spots at the front of the
Right.
school. So, if we go to the high school, sometimes visitors have to park in that lot
South
and
lot,
come over.
yeah.
So,
Right.
we're fixing everything, I think, to the best benefit,
Mm-hmm.
and so people get a couple extra steps in once in a while, so.
Good.
But at least we're accommodating that.
Yeah, I think it's going to work short term, and then actually the timing, I think, might be really good with the village as we see what they're developing, so.
Yeah, and you were saying it right, with Norfolk there. Yeah,
Okay.
you were saying it right, yeah.
Yeah. Any other-
As far as the high school, so in August, from the looks of this, we'll have about 2/3 of the classrooms at that end of the building not in use.
No, the green will
No,
still
the
be in
green will
use.
be in
Green will be in
Just the
use?
orange, yes.
The orange will be
Okay.
under construction, and all the purple will be done.
The purple's done,
Yep.
and so only the orange will be out.
Correct.
You bet.
Okay,
You
so
got it.
there's
Yep.
still a lot, do we have it figured out where all the classes are going to go that are in that space at this point?
That is a work in progress.
Pretty much, though.
Yeah.
Pretty much. One of the, and again, Steve is on it and in forward thinking. You know, you talk about those, what was that, Tech Arts up here on the north side, or what was that? Those really
Yeah, that was
large
actually,
spaces on the
let me go
north?
back to this. No, this way. I mean, what was interesting in the concept, which if we can get back to this.
Now we're on this, so let's go there, like
Yeah.
here.
So on this area was really never in the project. You know, that was never something we
Hold on,
considered.
that's not, can we get the, there we go, okay.
So this area was never in the project scope.
I can see here what
But
I,
early on, when, you know, we went in there, I mean, this is like the largest math classroom in North America right now. You know, it just is, because it was a tech space and they needed a space. We thought of swing space. Special ed currently is kind of scattered in not really appropriate spaces down here. So this became a great opportunity to create classroom space that we can move people. And back to Joel's question, Jack, Hector, and Kevin, this is what they're working on, is trying to figure out, you know, where, you know, how many people, where. We also have some other opportunities on the second floor of the science area. There's a triangular space in the middle that used to be a computer lab of sorts. The next countertops are in there. There's data drops and power. That could be a good spot to move staff up there. Spaces like these right now, this is speech and psych, this is social worker, those are going to be freed up, so we're going to be able to move. And it's taking some creativity, but they're working on it. It's, and then the one thing that really was tricky, and it worked out, hopefully it will be simple, is when we were looking at these three different spaces. So this first purple is about 40,000 feet, the second is about 10,000, and about 5 was, you know, how are we going to figure out when people are packing or whatever. And then when, you know, Pepper started talking about their construction and that they really wanted to demo this during the summer also, because once they turn this over, they want to go right to there. We decided to just keep it simple. Everyone packs at the same time, and most of them will be moved temporarily someplace, with the only exception being this group is math and over in this area, that they would stay put, but would be all packed up, ready to go, boxes labeled. And then, and during the summer, we're basically going to move the administrative team over to the east in the area that's currently being used by SACID during the school year. So you have some spot over there. And there's a lot of stuff to figure out. I mean, Nadine and her team, like just the technology, you know, all these computers, smart boards, wireless access points, figuring out, inventorying those, what's going in, what's not, you know, salvaging those. Movers don't want to touch those things, so can they take care of that, or do we have to get someone involved in that? So there's a lot of pieces, but as we're finishing the bid documents, there's a lot of these logistics things going on with Kim and Kevin and their team, and Pepper's really pushing this along because they know they got to get all these things out of the way and ready to go for construction.
And not only is it the largest math room in North America, I think including Central America and maybe South America, but it's the only math room where the teacher actually owns the room the whole day, right? You know, and that's some culture, right? There's been a lot of that, just convenience of that, right? And so now we're going to have Spanish and French in the same classroom maybe for a little while.
I mean, there's going to be a little suffering. The kids won't even notice.
Yeah, right, exactly.
The staff is going to be, we're going to make some people, you know, they have to suffer through it, but if they can just bear with us and get to the end, I think it will be worth the hassle. And the good news is, I mean, we were thinking this was going to be, you know, if you go back like a year ago, 2 summers and then a question mark during the school year. So
Yeah.
the advantage is this idea of getting on board, starting, and finishing it. And that's also something we're hoping on the bid side will be attractive to people, because
It will
you
be.
tell someone that you're doing a chipboard job and you're going to start in, you know, the summer and you're going to still be doing it in December. That's what they like to hear, that mobilizing and staying someplace a long time, having the staff cash
Yeah.
flow. So it's,
Yeah.
we're hoping that kind of thing is exciting to subs when they bid it.
well,
Are SACID spaces staying the same?
Yes.
So 2 things. One, I think, first of all, thank you in advance to all of the staff and everybody who are going to be doing all of this. Bless you. But I
Who's got it covered?
think the thing, and to me, I think you know, that what's the end result going to be? It's going to finally be a building that is fantastic, learning and secure. And I think the funny thing is the incoming freshmen might be like, you know, what's going on, because they're freshmen, you know, and I can say that because we know some of them. But the sophomores, juniors, and seniors, they're already used to half walls and,
Right.
and, you know, partitions and everything. So anything they have to do probably for a couple months, they probably won't even face them, I'm thinking.
Right, I think they're going to really be excited about these, newer classrooms, these
Right.
classrooms of the future where, and this is still developing, but it's kind of the model tends to be a large flat screen interactive display on the teaching wall. So the whiteboard becomes not only something you can project on that's at least this big, but is also something you can control a computer from with additional whiteboards, Wi-Fi, flexibility. We're designing in backbone for the future, like where a wireless access point will actually be 2 Cat 6A cables, which is kind of the next standard for Wi-Fi, where they're going to have much higher throughput. Early on, we'll be using standard access points, but when you go to it, you literally would have access points that would have, I think they're reaching for like 4 times the current speed.
Yeah.
So it's really trying to design and then think fresh about, what's going to happen when you really are one-to-one computing across all 4 grades. How do we make that work today and into the future? So, we've been working hard with her. We have all kinds of design papers and stuff and getting her input, but it's an exciting opportunity, and I think these will really be some cutting-edge, really fantastic teaching spaces that will provide flexibility for how they want to teach, and then we'll have the ability to do what they need. And I can just feel for, we're going to be finishing this thing down to the wire, and then they're going to have to move in. So it's going to be tough. They're not going to have the normal time to set things up like they're used to, but it's going to be a completely different situation. When they realize they have a light switch, I think that alone will be fantastic. And the ability to dim lights, it just creates all these breakout spaces. We're creating spaces that you don't have. And it's really going to be exciting to see how they become part of your educational program. So it's going to be interesting.
I will speak on behalf of myself and maybe other people at home. We are very excited to see this happen. It's been said in the past that this could not be done. And to see plans of how it will be done.
It's been a while.
Very excited. All 4 schools. Just really, again, all 4 schools.
And all of them
Doors,
still
walls.
allowing for future, whatever the future holds. I don't think we've painted ourselves into any corners and allow for these future, whatever. It's really interesting to see Miller, how it's changed, with the bilingual program growing there. So that was a lot of debate, and Kim was super helpful in working with Tim and thinking about not only where it is today, but just to picture it when it's bilingual across all grades. Where are the classrooms? What about the support space? What are we going to need so that we didn't do something today that we would regret? And so we already have some flexibility there. And the high school, the same thing. If enrollment started to grow, the future area there where you could definitely gain some capacity is up here in this northwest quadrant, which were kind of business type spaces, which are really oversized rooms. That right now you have a total of 6 spaces there. That could be 8, 9, some classrooms if you needed to. And that's staying the way it is, but it could easily be renovated in the future.
Well, I would say thank you very much for coming. We're,
Thank you.
showing the community what we're doing, and
I was thinking this is probably
Excited.
the first time I was asked to look at this was in 2007 when we first started working for the district.
yeah,
So-
we remember.
We'll get it done right about the century, the decade mark, and but you can see why it was a really hard nut to crack. I really think, Mike and I always talked about this is, once they really experienced the open plan and the strengths and weaknesses of that, if this could have been enclosed easily, it would have happened a long time ago.
Okay, so closing note, can I say it again to all the staff, everybody, and thank you for your patience as we,
We're going to work, we're going to have one of the staff meetings at the high school especially. We're going to meet with Hector and the team, and so we can answer questions and talk about, what's going on, because, some people will be easier than others. If someone's been in a space for 25 years, it's going to be a tough, packing up and getting ready to move. And,
hey, maybe there's some extra credit projects in there for the kids. Pack up and stuff.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
Volunteer time anyways, right?
What do you think, Hector?
Oh, yeah, service hours, maybe.
service hours.
Anyway, thank you very much, and we do look forward to having you again at a future board meeting
Absolutely,
to
anytime.
talk to where we are, so,
And we'll see you with some awards
thank
soon.
you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Very excited. Okay. The next item, presentation of monthly financial statements. Kim?
Okay, this month, the district received just under $409,000 from the state. That was most of the second quarter categorical payments. And there's about $126,000 that they vouchered but haven't released. In the ed fund, we received $253,000 and they vouchered $126,000. That $252,000 represents our second quarter mandated categorical. So like special ed payments, those types of things, driver's ed, those types of things. In the transportation fund, we received the second quarter payments in a total of $156,000, and we only have $1 vouchered because they haven't vouchered the third quarter categorical. So hopefully they'll do that in the next few weeks. In terms of expenditures, again, we're comparable to prior year averages. In the O&M fund, we're about 65% spent to date. Last year, 56%, again, because of all the summer projects we did. And the transportation fund is really, the percent spent to date continues to be low because we are still waiting for correct bills for our special ed transportation from Septran. And so I'm hoping that over spring break, we're able to get that knocked out. I'm surprised that they can go that long without having any revenue from us. So anyway, that's where that is. All the other reports are attached for your review. Does anybody have questions?
Thank you. Okay, the next item, Certificate of Excellence.
I just wanted to let everyone know that, we submit our comprehensive annual financial report, which is similar to a corporation's annual financial report. That's, a few hundred pages, 150, 200 pages long. And we submit that to IASBO for recognition. And we did receive the Certificate of Excellence Award again this year, and that's the 10th year that we've been in the program and the 10th year that we have received that award. So that is attached, and I'm pleased because it is a lot of work. It's also a very useful document when we did our Moody's rating for the bonds that we just issued. Again, a very helpful document to us and to them as reviewing the district's finances. So,
Well, congratulations. Thank you, Kim, and to your staff and Kevin. The one thing that I like in here is that it confirms the school business office's commitment to financial accountability and transparency. And I like that. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay, action item. First item, approval of 2016-2017 school fees.
Okay, the school fees that we discussed are attached, so there have been no changes to the information that we attached, from that we discussed at the last board meeting. So they are there. Again, we had obviously the technology fees. There were a few fees for some of the courses, and then full-day kindergarten would be paying the same as first grade through fifth. So they're there for your approval.
Any questions or comments? All right. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2016 through 2017 student fees as presented.
So moved.
Second?
And roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, the motion carries. Second item, approval of pool use contract.
Yes, we were approached by Ultimate Swim Club to use a few hours of our pool time for the month of April and May. And so Bennett Academy is finished with their season right now. So we have a little bit of pool time left. We're still kind of tweaking the exact hours, but it's the same contract that, the board has seen for the other vendors. And so just this allows me to execute that, at the rental rate of $125 an hour. And so we'll be firming that up at the end of this week or definitely by next week because they want to start at the beginning of April. So just seeking authorization to be able to finish that.
I think there was some conversation, not here in the board, but about there being some other use of the pool that maybe hadn't been taken into consideration before. Is that?
Right, and we're taking into consideration allowing those sports teams to use that.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the swimming facility use contracts with Ultimate Swim as presented, subject to final use schedule, and to authorize Kimberly S. Anderson to execute the facility use agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Notbush.
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried. The next item,
I'm
approval.
sorry.
Oh, did you ask?
I don't think I got called.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Feels left out. Thank you. All right, approval of 2016, 2017 staffing plan.
Just briefly, and I'll start with the junior high. The junior high is going to have a smaller enrollment next year, and because of that, they can actually reduce their FTE by 2.0 or 2 teachers. Coincidentally, we have 2 retirements at Manning, and so we're able to move teachers over to Manning, and so that way we're able to retain our staff and not have to release anybody because of the enrollment. Miller, we're expanding our dual language program, another grade level to 3rd grade. And so typically we'd be looking at an addition of 1 teacher, but because of Tim Weiler able to work with, he has a retirement, a reading specialist, so he'll be posting a bilingual reading specialist. And there also is a resignation of a special ed teacher, and so we're going to post that as a bilingual special ed teacher, and that teacher will also be able to work with special ed students and then also non-special ed students with interventions. And so because of that, we only need to increase the FTE by 0.5 as a result. The high school FTE, a larger freshman class coming in, and because of student selection, course selection, and then also the high school is going to be coming forward with a proposal for an AP biology class, we need to increase the FTE of 0.5 for science. But overall, when you look at the overall FTE for our district, we're actually reducing staffing by 1.0 or 1 full-time teacher. And so in light of some of the rhetoric we're hearing from Springfield and some of those things, the fact that we're able to actually come in under our FTE, our goal was to stay FTE neutral, but to come in a little bit better than that, I think is a great use of our staffing. So we'll be able to meet all of our staffing needs, provide all of our services we currently do, and actually reduce our staffing a little bit.
Okay. Kevin, I have a quick question. This looks great. I mean, again, especially, no news is coming out of Springfield. This bilingual class or program at Miller really seems to be taking off, and I know
It
we're
is.
planning for that. Can we get, I'd like to, in the future.
Sure.
Just a summary of the program, how
Sure.
it's doing, how many students are in it, where, how's it going?
Sure,
Because that
sure,
would be a
we can
really
do
good
that.
thing. It seems like it's very successful.
It
So it would be nice to, especially, yeah, so anyway, that
Sure,
would be
yeah,
good.
we can have that, sure.
Okay, any other questions on the staffing plan? All right. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2016-2017 staffing plan as presented.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Mr. Price.
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush.
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried. The next 2 action items I have requested to pull for discussion and closed, and then we will vote on that after closed. Superintendent's report.
Just a couple items in my report. One is, and some of the board members may have visited the Sprouting Seeds Cafe at the junior high, but Nancy Bartos had an enrichment class that's been working since the beginning of the year, creating a school cafe at Westmont Junior High, at the at Westmont Junior High School. It's located in the balcony of the media center. And the students got donations for tables and chairs, and then painted those items and created a nice space. And so they had a soft opening during parent-teacher conferences for parents to visit. And then when we returned from spring break on April 4th, that will be open before and after school to students, and the students will be selling coffee, cider, and hot chocolate. And then there's also bags of coffee beans that are available for purchase as well. And all the profits are going to a Sprouting Seeds orphanage. And so it's a great endeavor, and it's great to see the students really took ownership of it. And so it's great to see. And then just.
Can I just jump in
Sure.
and say, I really thought that was spectacular. And what a great use of the space. And it's beautiful, it's colorful, anything. I will just have to say this. One of our former teachers, Jackie Michelin, who used to be in the district, works very closely with Nancy Bartos. And I found out she donated her retirement chair to this. Let the kids decorate it. And that's there too. So I just have to, known Jackie forever, and she's a wonderful teacher, and she's in our districts almost every day, volunteering her time.
Yes, yes.
But the kids did a great job. I think it's all a wonderful, wonderful program, so. Anyway, just wanted to say that.
And then the only other item is just a reminder to our parents that regarding our summer learning opportunities today, registration open, and so there was a communication that went out to parents letting them know that registration is through April 22nd, and parents can register online, or they can have the registration take place at the individual schools. And again, we will provide, those parents who opt for it, we will provide transportation, and then also it will be housed at the junior high this year.
Okay, thank you. Are there any board reports? No. I would just like to say, and I don't know if Joel's going to say this, but good luck to our students who are going to Cuba tomorrow.
Safe travels.
We know some students very well who are going there tomorrow. What a wonderful time for them to be going. And I know the other students, the French people are leaving too. But to go to Cuba right after the president goes there too, it's fantastic. So I will be looking, that would be an exciting thing to hear about how that goes. So, okay, any other board reports? Okay, are there any public comments? All right. Oh, yes, please come on up here.
Hi, my name is Jill Jackson, and I actually live kitty corner from South School. And I'm really glad I came tonight. I learned a ton of information, so this is great. But I wanted to talk about summer school. I've got a second grader at Manning and a kindergartner, and we have loved participating in the summer enrichment program for the last 2 years. And I'm very disappointed to learn that the summer school is now at the end of the school year, so it's the beginning of June. What was fantastic about it in the past is you get out of school, you're off school for 2 months, and then August comes around and it's only 8 days. But they have to get up in the morning, to get the bus. They spend a half day, 3 hours at the school, then they come home. And it's Monday through Thursday for 2 weeks. But it gets the kids back in a routine of what it's like to get back to school after a long summer. And then you have that one more week of, resting into the summer before you go back to school. And I've talked to tons of parents, and they were excited to see us at summer school this year. And I told them that we're not going to be going this year because it's right at the end of the school year. And nobody believed me. And I said, no, you have to go look. It's the time is moved, and people have said that they're not going to participate because of the time. And I feel like we're not going to do this is because we just went the whole calendar year. We got out of school May 29th, and my kids were going to take a break. So I'm really disappointed. And after listening to all the information about the updating of all the schools, perhaps that's the reason it got moved. But next year, I strongly urge you to consider having the summer school again be, enrichment at least, be at the end of the summer to give kids that jump start into the back into the school year. So that's it. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Any other public comments? Okay, future events. Tomorrow night, the District Fine Arts Festival at 7 o'clock at Westmont High School, and that is district-wide. And if you've never been to one of those, it is spectacular. It's a wonderful night, so 7 o'clock at the high school. There will be no school Friday, March 25th. Spring break then is March 28th through April 4th. Kindergarten registration is April 11th through April 15th, 9 to 11 and 1 to 3 at Manning and Miller. And the next school board meeting will be April 12th at 7 o'clock at Village Hall here. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's evaluation, personnel issues, student discipline, probable litigation, and to review closed session minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes.
Thank you.
And there will be a few votes after closed. board is back in session, and the chair will entertain a motion to retain closed status for the closed session minutes dated August 25th, 2015, September 8th, 2015, September 22nd, 2015, October 13, 2015, October 27th, 2015, November 17th, 2015, December 15th, 2015, January 12th, 2016, January 26th, 2016, February 9th, 2016, February 23rd, 2016, and February 25th, 2016, and release closed session minutes dated December 8th, 2015, and January 7th, 2016.
So moved.
Second?
And roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes. Okay, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the destruction of the verbatim closed session minutes from March 25th, 2014 through August 26th, 2014.
So moved.
Second.
And roll call, please.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes. Okay, now the other two motions that we had pulled. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2016-2017 continued employment for all non-tenured staff as presented in List 1.
So moved.
Second.
Roll
Roll
call.
call. Ms. Wilson?
No.
Well, List 1.
What?
List 1. Look at,
Sorry.
Matt.
Yes.
Mr. Armstrong?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Mrs. Charlton?
Yes. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2016-2017 continued employment for all non-tenured staff as presented in List 2.
So moved.
Second?
Mr. Armstrong?
I abstain.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mrs. Notbush?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Abstain.
Mrs. Charlton?
Abstain. Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The meeting
Aye.
adjourned.
I'm so jacked up.